community, good morning and welcome one and all to our 25th anniversary celebration. This is a monumental day for a lot of reasons, but certainly the fact that this is the largest crowd we have had in our 25-year history. There's over 500 people here today, and there aren't, as last year, there are no programs this year because we're doing it all 21st century on the screen. And I know for some of you in the back, it's going to be hard to see, it may be hard to hear. We apologize for that. I thought about maybe after the first hour and a half that I could take the first 25 tables and move them to the back and have the 25 up there come to the front. But I knew the chaos it would create that you wouldn't be back next year, and we can't have that. So we thank you for coming. As I reflect back on the 25 years, we've come a long way. It started out with a handful of people back in 1997 and focused on educating and rewarding scholarships to worthy African American students. There have been 41 scholarships. And ladies and gentlemen, right here on this banner, there's the 41 scholarships that have been awarded over the past 25 years. That has remained our mission and remains constant, and we will continue that. As we have evolved over the years, though, we've included giving something back to the community by helping deserving and struggling families who are in need. Monies raised for today's function supports both worthwhile programs. I'll be sharing the podium today with several other board members who have worked to put together a meaningful and memorable event. I would like to introduce them now. Starting off with our current president, Mr. Earl Cook, right over here. And his lovely wife, Rhonda. Denise Brown, where are you, Denise? Stand up, Denise. Wherever you are. Kathy Ellis. Thank you, Kathy. Susan Harrison, right up front here. Susan, stand up. One of our newest and youngest members, Aaron Pruneau. And Alvin Riney, who will be co-emceeing with me this afternoon. And last but the very least is myself and my lovely wife, Brenda. In years past, we have focused on celebrating solely Black history. Since February is designated Black History Month, which, by the way, should be all year long and not just 1 month, with all the divisiveness in the country today, we want to reach out to all cultures, African Americans, Latinos, Asians, whites, Islam, etc. We should be an inclusive society where we respect each other's backgrounds, beliefs, and values. We by no means are abandoning our brothers and sisters in the Black community. I will later in my remarks reflect on Black history and the impact it has had and continues to have on our society today. We must continue to educate and be reminded of the contributions that Blacks have made and continue to make in our great country and around the world. Before we get started, though, I would like to introduce our deacon, Reverend Jerry Stoverink from Sacred Heart Parish, to do our opening prayer. Reverend Jerry.
We pray this day for the grace to tear down walls that divide us and build bridges of understanding and unity. We praise God for the gift of cultural diversity in our world. Help us to learn to listen more deeply, to connect with those who may have a different perspective and background. We ask this in the name of Jesus, your Son, our brother. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. I would now like to invite to the podium one of our newest members, as I said, Erin Pruno. She is an English language arts teacher at Festus High School.
Hello, everybody. I have the great pleasure today of introducing a very talented young woman that many of you know. She has joined us to share her gift of voice with us. I was blessed to be one of her theater teachers and directors for years, and I know she has a bright future. Please join me in welcoming Mahala Pittman.
Please feel free to sing along. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Oh, say, can you see the dawn's early light? What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
We have a plaque for Mahala, just in appreciation for sharing her beautiful voice with us today. So thank you, Mahala. Thank you. Sorry.
That was a little moment of appreciation for Mahala. This is what, the second time you've been here and done this for us, Mahala? Yes, so thank you very much for your repeat performance. You have a beautiful voice. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to call to the stage Dr. Luttrell, Superintendent of Festus School District, for a very special presentation.
Good morning. As many of you know, I'm Luttrell, and I have the great honor of getting to serve every day the patrons of Festus R6 as their superintendent of schools. Well, in 1992, long before I ever arrived at Festus, the Board of Education established the Festus R6 Hall of Fame in an effort to honor distinguished graduates from not only Festus High School, but also Douglas High School. Since 1992, 26 individuals have been formally inducted into the Hall of Fame at Festus. Typically, our Hall of Fame committee meets each July to review the applications, the nominees, and make a recommendation to our Board of Education. Well, it's not July, but yet this year, the committee received a nomination that was so extraordinary that it prompted a desire for the district to act immediately. And with this being the 25th anniversary of the Cultural Diversity Luncheon, we felt that the timing was appropriate to announce this year's inductee today. The individual that was recommended has given most of their life to make Festus, as well as Jefferson County, a better place in which to live. This individual was among the first group of students that integrated from Douglas High School into Festus High School in 1954. And this individual became an alumnus in 1957. After serving our country in the Marine Corps, the individual worked at Dow Chemical for 35 years. This individual was instrumental in the establishment of the Jefferson County Water District, and to this day still serves on the board of directors. He was the first African American mayor of the city of Festus, and even more importantly, he was one of the original members of the Cultural Diversity Committee and has served this organization proudly for 25 years. It is with great pride that I stand here this morning being able to announce that the Festus R6 Board of Education has named William Earl Cook as the 27th member of the R6 Hall of Fame. His official induction will occur later this year. But until then, he can wear this name tag that proudly displays the distinction of being the current newest member of the esteemed Hall of Fame and being one of the most distinguished alumnus of Festus High School. Congratulations, Mayor. You want to say anything, Mayor?
As you well understand, I didn't expect this award, nor did I expect to be here to receive it. And I really don't have anything to say at this time. Please give me time. I'll try to have something together at a later date.
I could probably take the rest of the day describing Earl Cook. He came to me about 6 months ago when he became ill and said, could you step up to the plate and help out on the board, kind of take my place? And I said, well, I can't do it by myself. We have a wonderful board of people who have various talents that have stepped up, and everybody participated to make Earl proud because of everything that he's done for us for the past 25 years. I've come to know him. I call him my brother. I'm becoming to know his family. And by the way, there's about 35 of them here today. Rhonda pulled us off. Go ahead. And just to tell you the dedication that this man has, yesterday he was released from the hospital, Mercy South, Mercy South, the old St. Anthony's. He had a UTI, and where did he come while we were setting up yesterday? But he came right here to the Quality Inn, sat back there in the chair, and gave directions like he always does. I checked in with him several times just to make sure I was doing it okay, and I think he approved. Do you approve, Earl? So this is a monumental award. I'm sure Earl hasn't even sunk in yet, but it couldn't have happened to a better person. And I love you, brother. To celebrate our 25th anniversary, we wanted to do something truly unique and different this year. We came up with a video that tells the story of the Douglas School and its roots, told by a rather familiar face, one of the founding mothers of the Culture Diversity Committee, Miss Willa Mae McCullough. Take a listen and watch this history lesson as only told by one of the best historians, our dear friend, Mrs. McCullough. It's only about 4 minutes long, so enjoy.
Of that school is never forgotten.
I was born in a small town in Louisiana, Vidalia, Louisiana, right close to the Louisiana-Mississippi border. When I graduated from high school in Louisiana, went to college in Greensboro, North Carolina. And Greensboro, by the way, was where the civil rights movement actually started. There were no high schools in this immediate area in Jefferson County. There were elementary schools, and then they had to, if they went to high school, those who went to high school had to go either to St. Louis, and you live with somebody there, a relative or whatever, or some went to Kansas City if you had a relative there. If you had no relatives anywhere, after elementary school, you were just out there. So Mr. Shropshire was one of the teachers down at DeSoto, down at the elementary school. And he got the idea of creating a school in this area that could take the place that was needed for high school in this particular area. So people wouldn't have to go to St. Louis, wouldn't have to go to Kansas City or whatever. And so they did, they agreed to that. And that school was going to be in Festus, Douglas High School, named after Frederick Douglass, of course. And they came from distances that you would not believe. I think the furthest one down was down at Fredericktown. We used to refer to it as going to school in the dark and going back home in the dark because they had to get up so early to get up here for 8:30 or 9 o'clock or whatever. But it showed the dedication of those children and their parents wanting to get an education, to be willing to get up that early and come all the way up here. And in some cases, the parents would meet the bus at certain places because in most of those towns, there'd be like 2 or 3 kids here, 2 or 3 kids there.
Then, in 1954, the Supreme Court's historic ruling in Brown v. Board of Education led to the integration of black and white schools.
And we didn't have any of the problems, I won't say near, we didn't have any of the problems that they had in places like in the Deep South where they were burning buildings and doing all kinds of things.
Douglas High School was torn down. All that remains of the school is a gymnasium, still used today by the community. Many years later, in 1995, at a function in downtown St. Louis, Miss McCullough, along with Bernice Thompson, Joyce Catois, Margaret Gill, Ken Evans, Katie Sanders, helped form the Cultural Diversity Committee with the goal of providing scholarships to African American students. The committee that they started has helped raise money for over 50 scholarships and hosts a yearly luncheon to help remember the history of Douglas High School. Any funds raised at the luncheon goes back into the community through 2 groups: the Douglas Alumni Association, who awards the scholarships, and GSB TTC. Some of the money has also gone to a local African American cemetery.
The committee has as its goal bringing people together, helping them to understand each other, to learn the ways of each other, and to become more accepting. And that it's not always one group against another, but the whole group and what we can accomplish as a community.
Home down there, a nursing home, very nice home. She's adapted well. She's accepted it. This is obviously the first time in 25 years that she's not with us, but she certainly was with us in spirit. So I thought we need to do something. She hasn't seen the video yet, so I have a card that I'd like to pass around, and it's a very large card. I don't want you to sign notes on it. I'd just like for you to sign your name, but I'd like for every individual in here to sign this. And then when we send her video, she'll see this and she'll be able to show it to some of her friends. I talked to her on Martin Luther King's birthday, and I said, "Willamette, how you doing?" She said, "Oh, I'm doing fine." She said, "I'm doing fine." She said, "It took me a while to get adjusted, but it's okay. I'm really liking it." And she said, "They showed a movie this morning." She said, "You remember that movie you talked about last year, Green Book?" She said, "They showed it this morning," and she said, "This afternoon they're going to have a Black History trivia." Thank you, Aaron. And I said, "Willamette, you got that hands down, girl." I mean, there's no one knows any more about Black history than her, and she is a sweetheart. So I'm gonna start this over here and make sure I get this back, so I can get it in the envelope. There's a indelible pin there to sign. If you have to sign the front, the back, where I don't care where you sign it, but please just sign it, and we'll get that off to her. So thank you very much for. We apologize for the sound, but it sounds a little better now. You got it fixed, Scott? Oh, it's much better. Thank you. Hey, technology. Whew. I would like to thank our board and Mrs. Kathy Ellis, who helped fund this video, and a special thanks to Ryan Henson, whom Kathy introduced to us for putting together this video. Ryan is a multi-talented photographer and filmmaker who has assisted many in St. Louis and surrounding area. He has the ability to capture the essence of his subjects to the best showcase the message that they want to convey. Ryan is active in his community in St. Louis and is currently working toward a degree in social work. We want to thank him for his creativity and his dedication to his art. Ryan, wherever you are, would you please come forward? Come on, Ryan. Clock's ticking. Come on, Ryan, get up here. Ryan chooses to live in the city, and anytime he came down for any of his video taping, he would rent a car. He doesn't own a car. And he said it's actually cheaper to live in St. Louis and rent a car than it is to have one and own it all the time and do the upkeep and depreciation, obviously the payment. So yesterday he texted me and says, now how long is this event going to last? Because I have to rent a car by the hour. And I said, 11 to 2. We're at 11 to 2. Let's give him a warm applause. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for coming. Before we break for lunch, I want to remind everyone, I think, Brenda, are we out of the wine bags? We're out of the wine bags. Second year in a row. I guess you people are just a bunch of winos. That's all there is to it. I mean, second year in a row we sold out before I could even make the announcement. That's good. Okay. Well, skip that. We have 3 custom-made necklaces donated by Dr. Thomas Ott. Some of you know, who's a retired ophthalmologist from here in the Twin Cities, and Stephen Kohler. One of the necklaces is an African trade beads that he got over in Africa with Greek crystals. So I know somebody will be wanting that. It's a beautiful, beautiful necklace. All of them are beautiful, by the way. And the chances are 6 for 10, or 30 chances for $20. How do we do it? The ladies back there will gladly take your money, and we will raffle those off at the end of the day. Also, there's another special person missing here today, Mr. Bernard Bingham, who fell this past week. He's in the hospital, and he's never missed one of these. So I know he gave that. I'm not even sure what hospital he's in, but I know those poor people in the hospital that are tending to him, he's given them a fit because he wanted to be here today. But like every year in the past, he made another homemade clock, and it did make its way here today. So he is a blessing to us, has been for years, has helped raise lots of money for us, and we can't thank Bernard enough, and we pray for a speedy recovery. Yes. Also, we have I think a Maya Angelou bag back there, and there's a wine and food basket with all kinds of goodies donated by Mr. David Wright and his lovely wife Jan. There's special pottery from a local artist. We have other gifts, baseball tickets. You know it. I'm not going to go through all that. We need to get to eat. And yes, we will have a drawing for attendance prizes at the end, whereby anyone purchasing a ticket will have a chance to win something. So you see at your tables, there's red tickets there. Take one of those, because those will be the door prizes. There's 10 per table. So if you're one of those lucky ones that doesn't have 10 at a table, you get more than one chance, I guess. And finally, remember last year, I took my first, for those of you who were here, I took my first attempt at auctioneering. Didn't go so well. We had a 9-year-old aged bottle of Old Fitzgerald that was valued at around $400 or $500. And John Propel, I believe, along with Todd Mann, they were kind of back and forth on the price, and it went for $750 last year. So thanks to John, he re-gifted it back to the Cultural Diversity Committee. So the seal has not been broken. We'll bring it up here on stage later, and we will auction that off also. Plus, the ladies from the Mount Zion Cemetery are raffling off a handmade African created back there by Sharon Ziegler, who has given one to us for the last several years. So we thank Sharon for that. Those are $1 each, or 6 for $5. Yes, give her a round of applause. Thank you. Last but not least, we will auction off a beautiful handmade quilt donated by Rita Beard. Rita, where are you? Rita, stand up. No, you have to stand up. This is her first luncheon. She is a dear friend of the family of Rosie Head, who is our violinist here today. And when she heard about this luncheon and what we do, she called Dr. Mark Spurrier and said, I have a quilt that I'd like to donate. Would you accept it? And we said, hello. Yes, we would take it. So Brenda and I had the privilege of going up to their lovely home in St. Charles and picking up this lovely quilt. And she had one in the other room there, and I said, you know, these auctions, it's hard to get what you think they're really worth, and we know they're worth, and the time and talent that she put into that. And she said, well, the insurance people told me on that one in that bedroom over there is valued at $7,500. So I don't know how many she has, but I'm sure she's got plenty, and she's donated plenty over the years. So to her and her husband, thank you very much. We appreciate it. While lunch is being served today, and for your listening pleasure, back to entertain us for the 5th year in a row, the Missouri Big Band, under the direction of Joe Pappas, longtime music educator and musician. We will now break for lunch. Our lunch was prepared for us by Andres Catering this year of South County, served in the side room over here on my right. We will have we have some displays in there of African American things set up in there also. But I also wanted to tell you about one other little special thing. At the end of the dessert line, you will notice cupcakes, about 500 of them to be exact, prepared to us today by a Festus Jr., Ava McKinney. Where is Ava? Ava, stand, there she is. She needed a service project for school in the National Honor Society. So she asked if she could bake 500 decorated cupcakes for us. And of course we said, yes. She is 16 years old and an inspiring pastry chef. You can follow her on Instagram at Peach Pit Bakery. So again, Ava, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And now Donna from Andres will start. She'll release the tables for lunch. The mob will be playing for us their melodious tunes, and we hope you all have a good and enjoyable and talkative lunch. Thank you.
Here we are. Sorry about that. Just wanted to let everybody know here. Sorry about the technical issues, and you can hear the big band going behind us here. Ray Halbrook with Livestream STL here. We're going to break away from the the luncheon here just to show you a little bit about something that goes along with this here. We were privileged to have Mr. Cook and also Mr. Lawrence, Anthony Lawrence, over on one of our shows called Main Street Sports. We talked a lot about sports, but it had a lot to do with the Douglas connection and with the Douglas school. And this is our Main Street Sports from back about 2 months ago, and hope you enjoy it. Special guests here, and I'm going to go to a wide shot here. Jeff Whitener's in the house with us here, and Jeff, let us know what we've got in store for tonight.
Well, first of all, let me say here at Kettle Huts, music good, plenty of good blues music, and it smells good in here. So
that's right.
Those are both pluses right off the bat, and the service is good too. So
Absolutely.
we appreciate everything here at Kettle Huts. 1 week from today, Ray, and folks on social media probably heard us harping about this for quite a while now.
Yeah.
There's going to be a very special basketball game, boys basketball game at Festus High School. It's going to be the Crystal City Hornets versus the Festus Tigers. And what they are doing for this game is they are honoring Douglas High School, which for those who don't know was the African American high school here in Festus at the time on 4th Street. And they will be wearing special jerseys that night. The jerseys, the green and white jerseys of the Douglas Trojans. I think one team will say Douglas and the other team will say Trojans on it,
right?
With the numbers on it. And I know there'll be some special presentations and different things going on that night. So that's a game you don't want to miss. But if you can't make it out live, Ray, how can people find it?
We will be on. Well, we'll be live either on Facebook or we might actually be on YouTube. I'm trying to work on YouTube also to, it's going to be one or the other. We can't do both right now. There's some issues with technical issues that we can't cross-post to both, but we might be able to once the stream starts. But long story short, we're going to be in the house at Festus High School, and we're going to be streaming it live. And I don't even know who we got calling it yet. I'm sure it's going to be Alex. Alex has already asked me, so
yeah, you don't want to miss that one.
Yeah, he'll be there. It might be you if we can maybe get you upstairs.
Figure out. So I might be the roving reporter down there that night.
That's okay. I'm all right with that.
Needless to say, we are honored, very honored to be able to bring this game to everyone. It's such an important game for the community. And Ray, for those new to the area or too young to remember, kind of want to go into the background and the history a little bit about Douglas High School and the Douglas Cooperative.
Sure.
Douglas High School operated in Festus, like I said, on 4th Street from 1939 to 1956. The school was located on South 4th Street, right where Shropshire Park is right now, right across the street there from the Mount Pilgrim Free Will Baptist Church.
Okay.
The park itself is named after Dr. A.C. Shropshire. He was one of the key figures in creation of the Douglas Cooperative High School. The high school originally served students from Crystal City, Festus, Herculaneum, DeSoto, Bonne Terre, Farmington, and Potosi. And then later on, from other towns, they had students from St. Genevieve, St. Mary's, Fredericktown, and Ironton. Because space was limited at the time, they actually had some classrooms, I guess, set up in the basement over across the street at the Free Will Baptist Church for a time. Individual towns contributed $50 per student for tuition and transportation, and the state paid another 50%. So the folks at the time in the African-American community and the southeast region in here, Festus and Crystal City especially, realized that the value of the education, and everybody pulled together to help get these kids into school. In 1953, a brand new gym was constructed on the corner of Harrison Lane and South Mill Street. That building, of course, still stands for those of you familiar with the area, and is currently operated by the Twin City Christian Academy. The Douglas Cooperative began the integration process with the Festus School District in 1955, and we'll talk about that a little bit. The last of the K through second grade students were integrated in 1959, and shortly after that, the cooperative closed for good. So, having said all that, I'd like to introduce our special guest today. We are very honored to have with us, and this is the first mayor we've had on the show.
Yeah, right,
so
right.
I know we've had several dignitaries, but this is our first mayor. Mr. Earl Cook here attended both Douglas High School and Festus High School, played basketball for both schools, Marine Corps veteran, I believe.
That's right.
And retired from Dow Chemical. Mr. Cook was sworn in as the Festus' first African-American mayor in 2009, the very day Barack Obama was sworn in.
How about that?
And he is a current member of the Festus Tourism Commission, I believe. I don't know if you have heard any other commissions or boards or anything like that. So.
Well, I've been fortunate enough to be asked by the mayor to be on the board, but I haven't. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to attend any meetings yet because I've had some illness. But I surely want to and intend on.
All right, very
part
good.
Of that board because it's important.
Well, I'm sure they could definitely use your input. To Mr. Cook's right, your left on your screen, is, of course, our friend of the show, Mr. Anthony Lawrence. Mr. Lawrence is a former Festus Tiger basketball standout, went on to play at St. Louis University and Mineral Area College. Mr. Lawrence, you also may know from coaching high school basketball in the area. What else do we need to know about your bio? Besides, you're a guy who tells it like it is.
Really too much to talk about.
Right?
Well, I've been in law enforcement for 30-something years, so that's my background. It's police work. So I'm glad to be here.
All right. Well, we're honored to have you both here with us today. Now, we also not only want to talk about the great event coming up next week honoring Douglas High School, but also want to talk about the history and the legacy of the cooperative itself. I think it's important for people to learn about the pioneering African-American students and the hardships and challenges and sacrifices they probably faced. I'm going to throw this first question out to both of you. Dr. Shropshire went to great lengths to study the effects of sports and other activities, encouraging racial empathy. He concluded that sports were, quote, a great unifier and met with much success in developing racial understanding. Now, as former athletes, do you agree with that statement?
Sure, I do personally because I'll tell you this. Back in the early years, with Festus and Crystal, most of the black kids and white kids knew each other from sports, Little League baseball. That's where they got together most of the time in summertime.
So there was no segregation in the Little Leagues
There
at all?
was no segregation in the Little Leagues. At that time, there wasn't any, and there hasn't been any. Don't get me wrong, there isn't any now. I want to get that straightened before it gets taken, wrong.
Right.
But there's it's nothing wrong with it now. But that was when the first people first started getting together was through Little League baseball.
That's a good start. Like you said, these kids then knew each other, familiar with each other, growing up a little bit. Because
I say that's this too. One of the things that happened, baseball was good for it because in the age group from 11, I think it was from 11 or 12 on up till whatever. There wasn't anything activities for black kids and white kids to get together until that age group, because there wasn't anything else other than baseball, and that's when the Corey League was put together for all to continue on that friendship.
Sure.
There was one other thing. The Daily News. We had a newspaper in town called the Daily News Democrat.
That's right.
Daily News Democrat come on every day, and that's when the kids work together, selling newspapers. Everything is all about sports and about newspapers. That things started happening, and kids started getting together, and we knew each other from then. So it kind of carried over into the age groups.
Well, that's a very good point on that. What do you think, Mr. Lawrence? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I agree with Mr. Cook. Sports brings everybody together, no matter your race, creed, sex. It doesn't matter. And I can remember from playing Little League ball, and most of my friends, white and black, we played ball. And sports brings everybody together, and it still does to this day. It's just I agree with what Mr. Cook said. Sports brings us together.
I agree. I think of sports, maybe a little bit of the entertainment industry, definitely the modern military, I think, has helpful with that as well. But those are some of the major things in sports. Nobody cares what you look like. It is if you're a good teammate and you're a good player. That's the most important thing. Ray, you want to shoot number 2 at Mr. Cook there? Want to get you involved in the questions.
You're
I know
totally
you're
putting me on the spot here.
I'm always putting you on the spot.
All right, Mr. Cook, please take us back to the days in the 40s, okay, in the 50s, when you attended school in the Douglas Co-op and on Douglas High School. Describe the school and learning environment for us.
Yeah, well, I probably don't want to put this. Well, everybody wanted to learn. Yeah, every kid wants to learn. Now I'll go this. I'm gonna start a place maybe I shouldn't in high school. We had a young man who lived in Farmington, Missouri, but the only way he could get to school was ride the bus. If the bus didn't go that day, didn't run that day, he didn't get to school.
Oh, man.
Except for this young man. His name was Donald Fulton. He walked from Farmington to Festus.
My goodness.
Wow. That's a long haul.
That's right.
That's at least 35 miles, if not
He
more.
walked from Farmington. He knew the bus wasn't going to run that for some reason. I don't know what the reason was. I don't know what the reason was. But he knew that the bus wasn't going to run that. The only way he was going to get to school was if he walked. And he did.
Unbelievable.
Not only did he do that, but in later years, he became a high school executive in Sykeston, Missouri. He became the school superintendent of Sykeston High Schools.
My goodness.
So that dedication during that period of time went on in later years to lead him what he wanted to become.
Dedication was exactly what I was coming up with right there.
You hit on a good theme there. For those who education has been denied for so long, there's a thirst for knowledge, that thirst for education, because with that becomes a certain amount of freedom to build your own life and what you want to do career-wise, monetary-wise, whatever. And that's something, obviously the kids today, you've got public education, you get up to school. The kids, it's a totally different environment, but it's hard, when you look back, there were people that were just thirsting for knowledge, and that commitment, like you said, is very, very impressive.
You've had other young people that have gone to school that went on to various careers, military careers, officers in the service, and other jobs. That education that they received coming from Douglas High School pushed them right on through life.
What were the classroom sizes like at the time?
Classroom sizes back in you really didn't have a classroom per se.
Was it open?
Yeah. Well, you had some rooms taught 2 or 3 different classes.
Okay.
You had some rooms carried second, third, and fourth grade years, and the others 4th grade and 6th grade. It
Right.
went on because, like you said earlier in the show, there just wasn't enough room. But everybody wanted to go to school. Everybody had that thirst for knowledge, and the only way they could get that was to kind of push everybody together. This teacher was 5th grade teacher for 15 minutes during this hour, and this teacher was a 6th grade teacher for 15 minutes during this hour.
Oh, my goodness.
That's the way the education was.
Wow. That's now, I think in looking back in research, I believe Douglas High School, they offered basketball for the boys. They had basketball and volleyball for the girls?
Basketball for the boys, basketball for the girls.
Okay, and track and field.
Track and field for the boys.
Okay.
Basketball for the girls back in those days was a 6-man team. You had three on offense and 3 on defense. You couldn't cross the line. You couldn't cross 10-second line for the girls.
Wow. Okay. Huh?
Wow.
That's what it was played there. But it's like education. Everybody want to be part of it, part of something, some kind of sport. If that was the only way they could do it, then that's the way they did it.
Now, so you played basketball. What year did you first start playing basketball for Douglas?
I first started playing basketball for Douglas my freshman year in high school. We didn't have enough players for our A team and B team, so we had to kind of, if you wanted to play,
you had to play boys.
You had to take it where you got it.
You got that right.
If the jersey fit.
if it fit, no.
Even if it didn't fit.
The jersey didn't fit, but you went anyway. You did it anyway. But you had just as much fun, just as much, it was all like getting together. Everybody want to be part of this because that's the only thing we had, and we were going to do it. We were going to do it.
What type of player were you?
That depends on who you talk to.
Now, what I've heard, my mother is a year younger than Mr. Cook, and what I've heard from he was a hell of a player.
Really?
Hell of an athlete. He's just being modest, but I've heard a lot of stories about how good an athlete he was. So,
were you a forward? Were you guard? Were you?
There wasn't any such thing as a forward or guard. You play where you play best.
Yeah.
You play where you play best. Yeah, if that was wingman or center or whatever have you, that's where you fit in. You know, if you was 5'8" and you was a good center, that's where you played.
Yeah.
If you were 6'6" and you was a good guard, that's what you played. It didn't make the coach we had back then. Adam McCullough, recently passed away in April of last year. He didn't care what you played, as long as you played.
So were you an offensive specialist? You had a good all-around game, or?
I didn't. My family, bless them all, was Douglas High School in their heart. Basketball, no matter what they had, they played.
Right.
I'm not going to say everybody was good at playing, but they played. Now, I wasn't good. I wasn't all that good at track, but sometimes I'd get out there and I'd run. But basketball was my main goal. But it was always good. It was always fun. It was always and you made a lot of good friends from out of town that you never would have met before.
Well, that leads me right to my next question. Then, what were the teams you played against at the time?
Back then, we played most of the teams out of St. Louis and out of Illinois. We played Lovejoy, Illinois, Venice, Illinois. We played Vashon High School out of St. Louis. We played high school out of St. Charles. We played out of high school out of St. Charles. I can't remember all the teams back then, but most generally it was a St. Louis team that had a higher enrollment than we did.
Sure.
But that didn't mean that they was going to come down here and stomp us. It didn't mean that at all. It mean they come down here and got stomped.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Were you allowed to play against any white teams at that time?
Yeah, we did. We played against Festus. Festus and Crystal City were the only two high schools I think we played against back in those days was Festus and Crystal City. I don't know the reason why. That's not my.
Well, even the fact that you played both of those is probably pretty progressive at the time.
Yeah,
I would say. Now, the gym was built later on at Harrison there. But where did you guys originally play your games?
We played games. We didn't play Festus High School. Played their games on the stage at Festus High School. I think Festus and Herculaneum, DeSoto, Crystal City had a same size basketball court. It was on the stage.
Oh my goodness.
There wasn't a lot of room
Right.
to do anything, but that's where you played.
Wow, that's incredible. That's a you talked about who you played and stuff like that, and that kind of goes in the next question: how far you traveled. But what was the travel like? I mean,
Well,
to go and hit one of these teams, to get on a bus, or how did that work?
You'd leave right after school. If you had an out-of-town game, of course, if we played Festus or Crystal, we waited a little bit later,
Right.
at 5:30. But then we went out of town soon as school was out, depending on which school it was, because some schools were further than others. That's when you left. And there was one place we always had to stop and eat with it in St. Louis County, Dohack's.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, in South County there.
Dohack's Fish.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Absolutely.
That was where we stopped.
that was my
And the great big sign up there.
Right.
Yeah.
We stopped
me.
there, and
That's going back ways.
that's what we did. And kids from out of town, there were kids from out of town that wanted to play sports, no matter whatever sport it was. There's only two sports: track and basketball. If you wanted to play, you had to pay. Not pay cash, but you had to get your studies and pass your studies in order to play.
right.
And you had to stay up after the games, whoever house you stayed at. You stayed up after the games
Man,
or
man.
before the games. It made no difference how it was, which way it was. You got the education. The education came before basketball.
I was going to say, some of these games where you'd have to travel to Venice, Illinois, St. Charles, you're not getting back till late at night.
Right.
And then next day, getting up and going to class. I mean, a lot of the kids from out of town, did they stay in the area?
Right.
Okay.
They stayed in, like I said, whatever students' parents that were allowing their children to have students. Friends.
They would stay there.
They would stay at that house.
I was reading something earlier in the year about one of the girls' basketball teams at Festus from the 20s. And when they would go to play back then, you can imagine what transportation was like back then. When they would go to play, let's say they went to play somewhere in Hillsboro, they would stay at the homes of the Hillsboro players' parents overnight and then come back.
Wow.
So the home team would host the visiting team's kids, which I thought that was pretty interesting, But it's pretty cool.
That shows you how dedicated the kids were to wanting to be part of not only the basketball team but part of the school.
Yeah.
Because a lot of kids, a lot of times, kids weren't good enough to start or sometimes even play, but they were there.
Right.
No matter how many times they didn't get to play, next game they were sitting right on the end of that bench.
Right.
I'm going to switch over now and ask Anthony this next question. So you come along later. You're in high school at Festus in the mid-'70s or late '70s, early '80s, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Did your teammates at that time treat you any different than the rest of the student body?
No, not really. I had great teammates. We all got along. Really was no racial tensions or problems in the school. I had a great time in school and went to school with some great people. There was no problem. I was treated great.
What about on the road for both of you guys? Were there any problems on the road, going to road games or anything?
Not as I can recall. I can kind of say that's a fact too, because there was only two black kids out playing basketball. That's myself and Larry Wansley. Now, in case you don't know who Larry Wansley is,
I'm not familiar.
Larry Wansley is head of security for the Dallas Cowboys football team.
How about that?
Yeah.
So another man with an authoritative.
That's another one of Tish's relatives.
Yeah. Very proud of Larry.
You got that whole authoritative bearing in the family. It runs in the family there.
Yeah. He was an FBI agent for 10 years.
Right.
Did you experience any problem on the road?
Well, I have to admit, we did. I did when I played football as a freshman, and it was at Fox High School. You know, out there playing, the N-word was thrown around.
Right.
But when I played basketball, no. But football, yes. But you just shrug it off, and, you know, they try to get on your skin, just keep on playing.
Right.
But I have to admit, that was the only school, the whole time I played sports in school was when I was a freshman at Fox High School, and, you know, I was running back, you get tackled, and the N-word, and okay, no big deal. I played defense too, so I'm gonna get you back.
I was gonna say, you get your opportunity.
Yeah. But all in all, I never experienced it, and a lot of people I went to school with that was a little bit older than me, and never really talked about it.
Right.
So everything was pretty good.
Well, that's very good to hear. You want to hit them with number 7, Ray?
Number 7 here. This was for Mr. Cook here. Who were some of the great athletes you played with at Douglas?
Great athletes. There's nobody that really comes to mind was any better than anyone else. But most. Now I'm not going to say most. I'm going to say all of the black players that played for Douglas High School started for every other team in the mix in the integrated school.
How about that?
So once everyone was integrated over to a Festus or a Crystal City, all of those kids started
At all the other
regardless of the
schools
sport.
started track, baseball, basketball,
Crystal City, I
Football.
know, started with football.
football. That's right. They started. That shows you how good these players. They were good not only at a black school, they were good at a white school,
Mm-hmm.
and
Nice.
they played the sport.
Oh, that's fantastic. Any names pop out for you, Mr. Lawrence, as far as guys you played with?
You know, back in my Tony Kinder, the ex-coach at Festus,
That's easy.
great ball player. Maurice Mosby from Crystal, who played overseas. Pat Bone. I mean, there's been so many good ball players that came through Jefferson County. But one of my favorite players is probably Tony Kinder. You know, very competitive guy. But Tony Kinder is on top of my list. One of my favorite players that I played against and just knew.
That's something I'm sure that a lot of people watching tonight online or know some of these names you guys are tossing out there. We get any comments over there, Ray, right now?
Just a couple little ones over here. Some lady named Carol Finch. You know that lady? She says you're doing great, girl.
That's my wife's sister, so she probably paid her.
Yeah. She also made the comment, my buddy Bro Earl. And I've got one up here from Drew Harrell. We know Drew very well. One of the best men around, Mr. Lawrence. Hey.
Oh, thanks.
Congrats to Mr. Lawrence there, and a few others there. But I know that a lot of folks here are they're just eating up just the history of this right now.
One reason I'm not bringing up those names were I joined soon after getting out of high school. There was 13. That showed how close we were together.
Uh-huh.
When I graduated from high school, there was 13 of my classmates that joined the U.S. Marine Corps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's how. Marine Corps is not noted for being easy.
Including yourself, right?
Yeah, Marine Corps is not noted for being easy. But we graduated from high school and we joined the Marine Corps together. That shows you how close we were.
Wow.
What year was that you graduated?
1957.
57. My goodness. And when you went and integrated, your last year to Douglas, your first year to, would go to Festus, how did they approach that with the students? What did they tell the students at Douglas High School as far as where you were going as far as integration and stuff like that? And what happened to the kids that lived way out in the areas?
I can't speak on that because I'm not aware of how that school district or that city handled integration. Only thing I can speak about is what Festus did. You know, I don't know.
Well, we spoke about this before we went on the air, and talk a little bit about, if you would, about the influence on everything happening with Mr. Tynes and Mr. Shropshire together, if you would, and how they got ahead of things.
Well, Mr. Tynes and Mr. Shropshire got together and they held meetings at the schools, each school, and they told the students, this is the way we operate in Festus.
Yeah.
No matter who operates something somewhere else, this is what we do here. And there was not, I can't remember. I can only speak for myself. I cannot remember any time there was an altercation between any of the students. Now,